And so here. All right. So now here's drawing. All right. Let's talk with mirror first. All right. So I'm going to do.
And why it's so much better than copy.
Well, it depends on what you're doing. It depends on what the purpose. Okay. All right. If you're trying, mirror is better when you actually want the mirror. It's not better when you actually just want to copy. Okay, I'll explain that in just a second. Okay, I'm going to place a few things here just to get a few things here. I'm going to say I got PT and 1000 and pick point. All right, so all right, so like you don't want to mirror things like this. Okay, you can mirror something like this. So say if you have a tag like here, let's move. This is not the way this works. As far as this is not for this is not how you put an instrument envelope on here. But if you wanted this to the other side, okay, a couple ways you can do this. All right. One, you could use the rotate command. You can actually just pick this, boom, from center of here, boom, and then rotate it 180 degrees, or just drag it. One of it, you type in 180 because it was started off at 0, and if you want it to go 180 degrees, you just type in 180 degrees. Okay, that's just or I could use mirror. I go here, and again, center up here, boom, boom, done. And I could keep one on each side. That's why that's kind of beneficial in that copy aspect of.
And for clarification, one more again.
Okay.
When like that is 0, the current state is
Going
0.
the direction this is
And
pointing is 0.
Going up or north would be 90, and then it's 180, so it goes counterclockwise.
Yeah, it goes this way. This is 90. This is 180, and this is 270. So I'm going to change these up so you can kind of see that.
Just wanted to make sure I do have that right. I must have just been doing something terribly wrong last time.
Okay. All right. So if you look at units, you type in units, you click in here, you can see direction here. It actually shows you what it is. Okay. This is the default setting. I never recommend changing this. It tells you here.
Right.
Base angle is east. That means 0 is east. All right. And so what that means is that's where 0 starts. And then north is 90, west is 180, south is 270. It tells you right here. If you pick a different one, you say north, then it all switches up. This is now 0. This is then east goes to, so then it rotates around, but it's going counterclockwise. Okay, I'm gonna pick that, cancel that, and then it tells you clockwise and counterclockwise. This would reverse what I just did here. We go 0, 90, 180, and 270.
But the default is counter.
Default is counterclockwise, just like in math. Math class works this way as well. It all this flows from math and science classes that you've taken for years. Okay. This is quadrant 1. This is quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So when you start messing with your trigonometry functions, they all match up normally. Okay. Cool. So if I mirror this now, and I say from center of here, center of here, boom. If I type in 45 degrees, okay, because I'm a mirror. Okay. So the mirror line is the line upon which you placed a mirror between you. Okay. So keep that in mind. All right. So whatever perpendicular to is what that is. So if I do a 90-degree angle here, that means it's going to go to 180 degrees. If I cheat and I angle my mirror and I go to 45 degrees, okay, then I'm going to get 90. All right. And same thing if I go minus 45 degrees or 135 degrees this way, it's going to come over here. And then if I go 225 degrees, it's going to go to here as well. So you have to understand where you're at with your mirror line. This mirror line across here is the same as, this line over here. So this one gives you this line across here, the 45 degrees is going to give you the same exact results.
Hang on,
either way.
Hang on, Dad. Liam's freaking out.
Okay.
Come on, son.
He's gone.
He's done then. Put him in the bag, put him in the freezer. Damn it. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No worries. Okay. All right. So now that I picked that point, now that I picked the mirror line, it asked me here, do you want to, actually, let me get back into it. If I pick 90 degrees, I drag up and I do a perpendicular line there. It asks me, do I want to erase the objects? Yes or no. Default is no, so you're actually mirroring the object and you're creating a copy of it. If I say yes, it actually is essentially the same thing as doing the rotate 180 degrees. But now if you mirror blocks, like if you click on here, you have a 1, 1, 1 for your scale factors. Those are over here. Okay. See, it's 1, 1, 1. So if I mirror this block, boom, and I go from here over to here, boom. Now I have a -1. All right. This will cause you problems later. You want to avoid doing this. So if you do mirror a block, it's a circle like that, you can just come fix it and it's all good. Okay.
Why does that happen?
Why does that happen? Because I mirrored the block. Because it's inverted. I'm inverting this from here to here. And if you notice, undo. Yeah. You notice it on the X because I mirrored it along the X axis. Okay. It went from here to here. And so that means I did a -1 from over here. That puts it over here. On a circular block like this with text and attributes, it's not going to affect the way it looks unless you have mirror text set on. So now if I'm going to erase this, if I mirror this block here and I do it from here, boom. Now you can see why that's -1. You see how it's backwards? Okay, because it's an exact mirror of that right there. But since mirror text is set to 0, it doesn't mirror the text. It just actually mirrors the block, and text items will not get mirrored.
Yeah,
but
copy circles and things like that.
Copy would be the best for this. Yeah, copy, boom, drag it, and you're done. You don't have to worry about those things there as well. But sometimes you're going to get to where you're drawing like terminal blocks and things like that. So if I draw a set of terminal blocks, I'm going to pretend this is my set of terminal blocks here. Okay, I'm going to come back up here. Now here I'm using that point Y because I want to go to the same exact height of this right here, but I don't want to go to the end point of that. I want to go to the height of it, which is point Y. So I'm going to say point Y right here. I'm typing that in down here. Okay, and now I'm just going to ask me what is the point Y I want of. So I say end of that. Now it's locked me into that point Y. If I turn off ortho, I'm still giving it an X and a Z. Okay, so if I pick somewhere else, it's still going to lock me into that, but I want the X. So I'm going to hit F8 for ortho, and I'm just going to drag up and be done, and I'm done. I picked another point. I could have went at 0, 0, 0, and it would have only done the Y. Okay, but now I'm going to hit C for close, and say I had a bunch of these instruments, okay, lined up here. I'm going to erase this one. And this is not a true drawing, but I'm going to erase these angles here. I'm going to mirror this. Yes. And say I'm showing these instruments coming in here. This is not the way an actual instrument drawing would look, but I'm going to say to mirror here. And I do a dash array. And dash array. And pick this. And I'm going to say rectangular. I'm going to say 10 rows. And I'm going to say number of columns 1. And I'm going to say from here to here. All right, so I got that. So if I want these on the other side, I have a couple options. I can copy this, drag these over here. Then I can copy these or mirror these. And I can rotate all these. Okay, boom, boom. And then I can move all these from endpoint of here to quadrant of here. Then I can move all these from E and D point of here to perpendicular to here. Okay.
So the best way to do that would have been to copy the circles, the blocks, move them over, and then mirror the lines with the arrows.
That would be another way to do it. Okay. The most efficient way on this is just mirror all of it. Mid of here, boom, done. Then highlight these and then set them to 1 and you're done.
Okay.
Oops, hit still. Okay. God bless it. All right. And then you're done. All right. Mirror text is that variable mirrortext. Set that to 0. That way it doesn't mirror the text. Now, keep in mind, this is an instrument block. It's not critical that this be, all consistent or dependent scale factors or like scale factors, but it's best because scale factors, like if I take this and I set this to a minus 0.5, you can see what that starts doing to the bubble. Okay,
Yeah.
it starts making it look pretty funky. Okay, we don't want that. All right, so you want your blocks like that to be, consistent on that. The only place we use those skewed ones was on that piece of wood block that I showed you in that one 3D example. Okay, that's not the best thing to do because honestly, if you're going to try and flat shot that, it's not going to happen. So, but flat shot is something different. Just know that there's a limitation to that, and you can't explode those things. Okay, all right. So that's where you get into the mirror / copy. All right. So what else did you want to? How else can I help you with this?
I think that actually it does help a lot. I understood the command, but I didn't understand why you should use it versus copy. But that definitely takes care of that.
Yeah. Mirror is great if you just want it on the other side of something. You don't have to have these objects here because what's nice, one of the benefits of this, like say we don't have lines here. Okay. They don't have lines here, but I want to get these on the exact same side over here. Okay. So if I copy these over here and I say from here to here, and I go, shit, I want it to be the same exact distance from here. So I could draw a line from quadrant to here, come down here. Then I could mirror this line from mid of here to here. And then I could move all this from here, from quadrant of here to perpendicular to here. And now they're in the exact same spot. They're mirrored on they're same distance. Because you want to try and maintain consistency when you're doing drawing and something similar to that effect. Okay, you don't want this to be out here and this to be out here and everything else. Like you might have a complicated structure you do on one side, then you want to mirror that on the other side. And so that's why mirror functions actually really benefit for that. Another way you could do this without doing it that way would be something like this. Get your distance from the end point of here to quadrant of here. Okay, and then that you have 1.6. I have a horrible distance here, so I'm going to make that something consistent. Okay, I'm going to move these from QUA of here to PER to here, and I want to move this from here. I'm going to go 2 inches this way, and I'm going to make sure this is actually something decent. So I'm going to say line from ED point up here, and I just want to make this actually 1 inch across. So I'm going to offset 1 inch. Boom, boom. And I'm going to actually stretch this over here. The way I'm going to do this, I can do a couple ways. I could stretch this by clicking the grips, clicking there, PER, perpendicular to here. Notice where the green thing shows up down here. The little green symbol shows me where it's going to snap to. I pick there, and that's done. And now I know I have a consistent measurement. So now I've made this, how far to make that, 2 inches?
2 inches.
Yeah, I think it's 2 inches. Okay, so now I know this bubble is a 1/2 inch bubble. Okay. I believe might be 5/8 from QA of here to QA of here. Yeah, it's 1/2 inch bubble. So if I want to move this from here to here, I need to know the distance from here to here. I know that from the center of here to the mid of here is 3 inches. Okay, so if I now copy these 6 inches over this way, I know I'm in the exact, well, not quite. I need to take off 1/2 inch. 0.5. Okay, but it's a little more tedious to sit there and try and figure all that out instead of just using,
mirror.
the mirror command. Bam, boom. Well, copy is what made it more tedious because you don't know exactly where you're at. But again, when you mirror blocks like this, you don't have to. But again, make sure that goes back to 1 right there. And it's going to vary depending on if you mirror X and Y, boom, boom here. If I went up with this, so if I mirror all this from here to here because I want another copy of these up here, then here I am down in here. Now here's where you get a little trouble here. Notice how this is doing this right here. That's kind of weird. So you can fix that by fixing the Y's.
It was -1.
Boom. And then you also want to change the rotation of these to 90. Boom. All right. And that's what fixes those. Oh, not 90. Sorry, 0. My bad. So yeah, I just rotated those around. I just confused the shit out of you, probably. It needs to be 0. Okay. And damn it. I screwed up. What do I got here? Yeah, this gets a little trickier when you have this. Okay, so I need to rotate these. $70. Oh my God, what am I doing here? Okay. All right. 180 is wrong. Yeah, see, these are all backwards.
Okay.
Let's see. They should be 0. All right, but the problem with this is these
Is
are
it because
mirrored.
of where you started drawing the circle? Like
Well,
which
no, no, no,
side?
no. The circles are all good. Just these had attributes in them. Like you wouldn't notice the circles. The circles is maintained, but when you mirror these attributes, it tries to figure out where you want those to be placed and everything else. And so what you could do here is you'd actually set these here, and this is really gets complicated on this aspect. So they should be 0. Okay. And if you look at 0, they're upside down. All right. But if I run Batman, all right, and I actually sync that, then now they're okay. Because what happens is I rotate it, it's mirroring the locations of the attributes inside the block. And that's why that kind of happens. And so it mirrors
Okay.
that, because the mirror of this on the vertical means this goes to top and this goes to the bottom. Because if you mirror this from here to here, that's what it's supposed to do. Because PT should be on the, that's a mirror. It would be violating it if it didn't. Okay. So this is actually going to be have a rotation of 180 degrees when it needs to be 0. Okay, which would rotate it upside down. And then but the Batman command, which is a little bit more advanced command, don't think about what it means. Okay, it means it actually goes back and resynchronizes the attribute locations where they're supposed to be. Okay. I know that's a little confusing. It probably confuses things a lot more. So just make sure you understand that what mirror does, it truly mirrors the things. And then if you have to actually readjust them, then that's how you readjust them.
Explaining that dashed line is like putting the piece of mirror between them was actually pretty helpful.
Yeah. Definitely.
I didn't understand why that line was there, but that helps it. A lot of that makes sense. What about scale?
All right, scale. All right.
I don't think this one will take too long, but I don't.
No.
I think I'm missing something pretty critical in there.
All right. So scale is it just means it magnifies the size of it. Okay.
Yeah.
And the way you get to the scale factor you want, like this is inches. Okay. So if I do this, I take my distance from QUA of here to QUA of here. All right.
Half-inch.
Half-inch. All right. So if I was putting this on a drawing, let's see, let's go over here, grab a title block, Control-Shift-C from boom, and I'm just going to pick that, and I'll drop this in here, Control-V. This kind of works. You can see this is here. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to raise this up on top. Erase. I'll erase this up here. Okay. And this works in here. All right. But say this here is not a terminal block, and these are instruments located on a manifold or something similar to that effect. But this manifold is actually, instead of it being 1 inch across here, it's 3 feet. Okay. So I'm going to scale this up from mid of here. I'm going to say reference. What was 1 is now 36. Okay. So now you can see this doesn't fit. This doesn't fit in my drawing here or the dam. Okay. So I'm going to pick a scale factor that should actually show something. Say this is actually on a bigger thing. It was actually on a plan drawing or something like that. Say we had a vessel over here. So I'm going to draw a circle for a vessel over here. Okay. And so I need all this to fit inside this drawing here.
Yeah.
Right. Now, scale factors are what give me that. So if my scale factor for this drawing, let's say it's 3/8 inch equals a foot. Okay. That means it's a scale factor of 32. So I need to scale this up 32 times. So I'm going to scale my title block. And I'm just going to pick the INS of it for here. Boom, I'll say 32. So now if I zoom extents, you can see that stuff fits in there. So I can move my title block around a little bit. Since I'm in model space, this is what you do. You move the title block around your items. You don't move the items into your title block. Okay, because this is typically coordinates that these are located at, and they have to stay there. Okay, so now we have these bubbles that were supposed to actually go on the sides of this here. They don't fit. They're not where, I mean, this is not, you're not going to be able to read this in a drawing. These are symbols, so they need to be scaled up. Okay, now they were 1 scale factor here. But we know the scale factor of my title block is 32. Okay, because I got that to fit, and that's how I want it to show up. So I actually just scale all these up to 32, 32, 32, 32. But now look what happens. They're all the right size, but they're all on top of each other. You can't read any of that crap.
Oh my God.
They don't maintain the spacing. It sucks. So I'm going to undo that. All right. Nope, undo that. Okay. So what I need to do here is scale them all together using the scale command. Okay. If I scale these and I say from midpoint of here, and I say 32 times, and voila, they look like they did before.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Now it would have been easier just to scale them out at the same time, but the problem was that's not the way that the process was not what I wanted you to see. I wanted you to actually see that this was actually large, and I wanted this to fit on this particular drawing. Now another concept here. What?
Sorry. Is it better to just draw your drawing how you're going to do it, and then scale it all down at the same time, or is it better to just do your best to learn the discipline to draw things in the scale format?
Okay, no, you don't draw anything in scale format. Okay, when you draw something, you draw it real size. Okay, so let's just erase all this real quick. Erase all this. All right. So if you have a house, shit.
So like a 10 by 10 by 10 shed?
Yeah, let's just draw something and make it show up. Okay. All right. So what we'll do is let's draw a little quick building. Okay. P line from say here. And I'm going to go over here 120 inches, like I said, 10 by 10. Let's say 10 by 20, 10 by 30. I'm going to say 360 and 120 and close. Okay. So this is my little building. I'm going to offset that 4 inches. Boom, boom. So I'm drawing real size. This is actually 30 feet across here. Okay.
Okay.
So now I'm so if I have anything I want to do, now I need to place a title block around this thing. Okay, so I'm gonna click here. I'm gonna grab this title block, Control-Shift-C from there, just pick in the middle, and then I'm gonna pick over here, and I'm gonna Control-V. And if I place this here, notice it's too small. It will not fit this. Too
damn small.
Yeah, so I can actually scale this up. Okay, I can sit here and just drag it. I can sit here and drag it until it fits in there, and like, okay, that looks pretty good, and I can drag it right there.
That's bad though, because now it's not going to print on the paper.
Well, no, this will all print and fit on the paper because this border is one size specifically. Okay, but you don't know what the scale factor this border is. If I click on here, I look at this scale factor, it's 37.5445. What's nice about doing this, just dragging it up to where you see how big it is to where it gets there, you can kind of get an idea of how big of a scale factor you need to make this. So we know that one of our scale factors is 32. That would work. So if I set these to 32, boom, I can see that works well. Or if I had more things out here, say I had 2 of these things, or say I had 4 of these, boom, 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 and boom. Okay, I know that doesn't work. I can actually try this again, and I can set this to 48, boom, and I can see now I can suddenly fit all those in there. All right, so that's where that scale factor comes in. This is a paper element, okay? And this is, what we talk about model space and paper space. When you're drawing in model space, you typically want everything in model space to be real size. Okay. A lot of people have gotten to where, because paper space or model space was the way AutoCAD had it only before. You only had the one space. You didn't have these tabs down here. You just had working in model space. Then they created paper space, okay, to give you an option to create a paper area that shows what your model space would look like inside the scale. So what we'll do here is I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on Paperspace. Okay, I'm going to take this, I'm going to delete, actually I'm going to draw, I'm going to leave this up, but I'm going to copy this title block from here, boom, Control-Shift-C from 0,0,0. Notice I'm actually paying attention to how I do it on this one, and I'm going to go over here, I'm going to Paperspace, and I'm going to paste this, Control-V, 0,0,0, boom. Does that make sense? And now here's my title block. Now I have not actually set my Paperspace up to plot correctly in here, so I'm going to type plot. And I'm going to set this to, I think this is a 22 by 34. So I'm going to set it to a full bleed ANSI 20. Oh, first I have to do this. Set the high quality AutoCAD PDF. Okay. Then I'm going to click here. I'm going to go to full bleed ANSI. ANSI full bleed D 22 by 34.
What does all that mean?
Okay. ANSI D size is the size. That means it's 22 by 34. Or
yeah.
Okay. And full bleed means that it doesn't have any margins on the paper. So that means it's actually going to go all the way out to the edge. It's not going to worry about any margins, because when you're plotting to a printer or a plotter, it can't get all the way to the edge of the paper. Okay. Even though the sheet size is 22 by 34, it can't get all the way to the edge of it. So if you have a line that goes all the way to the edge of it, it's not going to go all the way to the edge of it, because there's margins for the rollers to grab the paper and hold the paper and move the paper across. And so you won't have that. Same thing on a laser printer and things like that. There's areas that it can't actually print on.
It's a physical limitation of the printer, like the mechanics, like it. Okay.
Yeah. And a PDF doesn't have that because it's an electronic file. So I can actually say full bleed and it'll go all the way to there. And then whenever you print it, whatever the limitations of the printer, it just doesn't print in that area. So I'm going to pick full bleed here. All right. And what I'm going to plot, I'm going to go ahead and do extents, because I want the extents from this edge of this border here to the edge of that border there. And I want my scale to be 1 = 1, because this is inside Paperspace. It's always going to be 1 = 1. Do not do fit. Okay. You can center the plot as well, and then you get the red lines all the way around. That just means that it's actually hitting the edge of your limits, and that's fine because we planned it that way. So I'm going to pick OK. Actually, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to hit monochrome because I just want everything to come out black and white. I'm going to pick OK.
Yeah.
I'm going to apply to layout because I want that to stay. All right. So if I plot that, it's going to prompt me for a file name. I'm just going to say drawing 7 layout. It's going to pop that up, and here's what that looks like. All right. So I'm going to close that out. Close that. And now we're going to create a viewport. Okay, this is a little more advanced stuff, so this is actually not a bad class for recording.
It seems like to me like the whole point of the printer stuff, or what did you call it?
Margins
or Paperspace.
Paperspace.
It seems like the whole point of Paperspace is to make sure you don't waste a whole sheet of freaking ink and paper.
Not really. I mean, it's just designed to make it easier for people who can't figure out scales. But in all reality, you still have to understand scales to do this. Okay, so I'm going to type in view. This is to make a viewport. Okay, and I'm just going to cheat and use from endpoint of here to endpoint of here. A viewport is a square. Okay, you can do shaped ones, but we're just stick with squares. Okay, I'm going to do that. Now, by default, when you create a viewport, it zooms the entire drawing. Okay, so if I look in here, now you see I'm zooming inside this window. I'm not actually inside Paperspace. I'm inside model space inside this viewport. Think of the fact that I'm looking in a camera lens right now. This is the viewfinder on my camera, and I'm looking into it, and I'm zooming in and out with the zoom function.
Is that how the blueprints end up with different spots to kind of like show you the reference image, like what it's in reference to? I remember seeing that a lot.
Sometimes, yeah. I'll show you that later, but that's actually if you're like zooming in on one particular spot to try and isolate an inset or something like that. Okay. So now what I need to do is I need to get my viewport set to the right scale. We already decided we'd like 48. Okay. So what I can do here is I can cheat and I can go over here, and I know that I already have this title block in here. So if I place this from here to here inside my viewport, I should be good because I made that same size. So I'll type in zoom window. Oh, actually, I got to get inside the model space first. But I do that by double clicking in the viewport. Now I'm going to do zoom window from END point of the same endpoints that I created for the view. END of here to END point of here. Now it's going to zoom to exactly that. I double click out and look at that. It all lines up. Now I'm going to go ahead and erase this because I don't need it. All right. Because I have my title block over here.
Yeah, it's just doubled up. It's messy.
Yeah. So I also have a viewport here. If you click on that, like if you get to these edges, you'll see one thing highlights. Okay. And if I click here, that's the title block. But the viewport is on top of this title block, so I can actually pick it by picking first. And if you notice here, it shows the properties of viewport. Now, if I scroll down over here, it says displayed locked. Okay. Once you set your viewport and your scale, you want to set that to viewport locked. You want to actually go ahead and lock that and say yes. Because if you don't, and I'm zooming and I'm double clicking here and I zoom in, then, you know, if it's locked, it doesn't mess up your scale factor. Okay. But if it's not locked, I do this, I say no. And then I'm trying to double click on something. And I'm like, what the hell? I can't see that. And you zoom in and then you're like, oh crap, now your drawing's messed up. Okay. Your viewport's messed up. You don't, your scale's all screwed up. And then you're like, oh, I'll just set my scale back to 48. You can click on here and go 1 inch equals 48. Quarter inch equal foot, boom, and you're like, wait, it's not in the right spot. Okay, because of that zooming, you kind of screwed things up. So I'm going to undo back, boom, and undo, and now I'm back here. So I go back, lock that, and then I don't have that issue. All right, so once you get this placed, you want to keep it the way it wants to be. Now, let's talk about this. If I want 1/4 inch text in here, all right, when I say 1/4 inch text, I'm going to say 3, or not 1/4 inch text. It's probably oh, you know, that's fine. This is a particular text height. I'm going to say center. Okay, I'm going to say mid of here. Boom. I'm going to drag across here, and I'll say, let's say building 1. All right. I'm going to move that there down in here somewhere. Now this is tiny. Okay.
Yes.
If I look at the text height, that's 0.1875. I'm like, okay, well, let me go to Paperspace. It should show up fine in Paperspace. It's like, no, it does not, because everything inside here is at that scale. It's not that scale. It's full size, but this is zooming into an area. It's 30 or 48 times the area. It shows that. Okay, it's actually the inverse of the 1 to 48. All right, but I want this to be in Paperspace. But if I do the same thing in Paperspace, B3, let's say mid of here, and I say building 1. Notice it's the right size. I didn't set the justification right. All right. So this text here needs to be 48 times bigger if it's in model space. So let's go here. So since this is in model space, anything in model space that you want to be a print size, you have to scale it up, because I want this to be 0.1875 when I print it out. Okay. But inside my drawing, my model space, it can't be that size. It has to be 48 times bigger than that. So I'm going to scale this up from INS of that 48 times. But now it's much larger and it looks correct. Now click back over here. Notice they are the same size. Here's the one that's in Paperspace.
Yeah.
Move this from here. You can see they're the same size. All right. But one's in Paperspace and one's in model space. So I can't, if I wanted to work on this one in here, I have to double click and then I can work on it. I can move it around. It's moving in model space because I'm in model space. Notice I can't get out here with my crosshairs.
Yeah.
If you ever notice that, then double click on Paperspace and they get you back into Paperspace. Okay. Paperspace is a little bit different. And again, they created it to make things easier for people. So they just understand that they just want this to be 1.1875 and they're done. They don't have to worry about it. All right. So you typically do your annotation in Paperspace. Okay, so this would not be in here. All your model space items would go in here, like center lines. If you had center lines or something like that, like a line from mid of here, boom, down here. Let's create a layer called center.
Struggling.
Center line. And I'm going to create it. I'm going to set that to a center line. Okay, that's the wrong thing. I'm going to click on continuous. I'm going to load a line type. I'll scroll down until I find center. I'm just going to go to center here, click OK. And I'm going to pick it to put it on that layer, click OK. And now if anything I put on the center layer will show a center line. So I click that, set that to the center line layer. Boom. And now it's a center line layer. Now your LT scale doesn't really show up really well in model space. Okay. But we're going to copy this from mid of that to mid of that to mid of that to mid of that. All right. But if I go over here to layout, notice the center lines actually show up with a variation and a difference there. Okay, so that's how you actually kind of get benefit of that. Because over here, you're not too overly concerned. You have to actually zoom in to see that center line show up because the LT scale is not being applied inside here. You can actually set the LT scale over here to 32 and it'll actually show up the same way. All right. But if you go now, you look over here in Paperspace and you're like, wait, it's messed up. It doesn't show up correctly over here. That's why you don't want to mess with your LT scale. You set that back to 1 and it'll actually show correctly, because this is where you want that to show up. You're not worried about that over here. It's just lines over here. You can zoom in if you want to see the line types, but that's the way you kind of have that look. You can create a PS LT scale as well, but we're not getting into all that detail on that particular aspect of it.
All right. I think I got a pretty good foundation to work on now.
Okay. All right.
Can you just walk me through the process of the attribute command?
All right, with the attribute or the attribute definition command?
Oh shit.
Let's
start with the attribute command.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's kind of discuss what the differences are. Let's go to new drawing. Okay. IP. I'm going to place an attribute PS PT. Let's it 1 times 1. Okay. Okay. This is a block. Okay. This is an insert or a block reference. Okay. Now, copy this. Explode this. This is what makes up that block right there. This is an attribute definition. You can see it right here. What is it? It's attribute definition. If I click on this, okay, and if I double click in here, you can see that this has attributes in it, okay? Attributes. Attributes are attached to a block insert. So if you list, like if I list this right here, let me bring this over here so you can see it. All right. If I list this, you see the block reference itself, and then you see attributes, okay? Attributes are attached. An attribute definition is the definition or the blueprint or the recipe of how that's going to be attached to that block, okay? Because if you list this says it's an attribute definition, and it actually has all the specifics about it. So when a block is created, it attaches from this to create the attribute.
Gotcha.
Excuse me. So it attaches that attribute to the block insert itself. Okay, so to create an attribute inside of a block, okay, so let's create a square. Okay, I'm going to go P line from here, and I'm going to go 1, 1, 1, close. Now I'm going to change this to the 0 layer, because when you're creating blocks, 9 times out of 10, you're going to want this to be on the 0 layer so that it actually takes on the functionality of the layer you're inserting things on. So I'm going to set my layer to 0 and stay on 0 layer. Now I'm going to create an attribute definition. All right, we're just going to call this size 1. Okay, so ATTDEF. I type in ATTDEF. It pops up this dialog box. All right, these are all a variety of different things. Lock position means it's going to stay there. It means I can't move it. Okay, what that means is if I click on this here, okay, see how I can move this out? I have totally screwed this bubble up. Okay, because now the stuff's not inside the bubble where it's supposed to be. This would be beneficial if this was locked, because now I'm picking this in here and it's actually not consistent. It's not in the right spot. I didn't quite do a good job putting it back there. I could use Batman to get it back in sync, but that's not the point. So if I lock that, if I go back in here and I edit this block, and I click this, and I actually tell it, yes, lock position. Okay, lock position. I set that to yes. Boom. And then be closed. Boom. And then I do a Batman of this. I have to do a Batman because this block attributes were already attached to it. And I'm going to say sync, click OK. And now I cannot move. Notice the grips don't show up anymore. Nice. Because they're not movable. Okay, so we want to actually make sure we do that. So I'm going to do ATTDEF. That's what that part means. Now, invisible means, say you just want data to be attached to this block. Say this block is concrete, and I don't really want to show that on the drawing. Okay, but I want to know that this block is concrete. I can actually set that material type in here, and then I can say it's concrete, it's wood, it's steel, whatever it is. But I don't have to actually see that in the drawing. I just know that it's in the attributes. Because what you can do with attributes and blocks is you can extract all that data to a database or an Excel spreadsheet or a piece of text file or something like that, and you can get quantities. Like say if you had 15 of these and you had 5 of them that were steel, 6 of them that were wood, and 7 of them that were, concrete, or vice versa, whatever. And then you can actually get a count from that data instead of actually having to go back and go, okay, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. And so you can actually automate those processes. All right.
Cool.
Constant means it's always going to be the same thing. Say if this block is always concrete, you can actually say this is always concrete and it will stay that way. Well, it's not editable. It can't be changed by the user in any way, shape, or form, but that value is there. Verify, because when you insert a block, let's insert this block real quick. Dash insert. And let's inst tag. If I pick this, boom, and then I hit enter, it's going to prompt me for these attributes. If you look down here, it's saying, hey, what's the instrument code? I'm going to say PT, boom, and 1001. Boom. All right. If verify was on, okay, it would prompt me extra for that. So I'm going to be edit that block, and we'll go in there, modify that, and I'm going to turn I'm going to ask me to verify the tag. Okay. And so what will happen, verify. Yes, it's going to ask me for that again. Be closed. Yes. So I'm going to insert this. Insert tag. Go here. And I'm going to hit 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to say PT and 1001. And then it's going to verify again. Hey, are you sure that's what that's going to be? Verify that. That's what you wanted. But it just gives you that extra prompt. Okay. ATTDF. All right. Preset. All right. Means it actually has a preset value and it won't prompt you for that. All right. So let's do that. Let's take a look at that. Let's go to be edit. And I'm going to preset the I-code. I'm going to set this to be preset to yes. And I'm going to go ahead and set that preset. I'm going to double click on the attribute definition. I'm going to go ahead and set that to PT. And now it won't prompt me for that. Okay, be closed because it's preset. Okay, so if I insert, boom, and I tab it here, notice that PT was already in there. And it's prompted me, instrument tag 1001. And it's going to say verify that again, 1001, and we're done. Okay, notice it did not prompt me for PT. That's what the preset is. Okay. All right, lock position, we did that. Multiple lines, I recommend staying away from that because that basically sets it into a, not to be nice, but a bastardized text piece of text. And it's not really clean. It's not a clean interface. It requires a lot of extra crap to actually modify the attribute, and it's just not that beneficial. All right, then you have your justifications and things like this. This is your text settings over here. It says text settings right here, and this is where you actually adjust those. So if you wanted this to be in the middle of this box, you can say middle. Okay, so now it's gonna be middle. Standard is fine. Say the text height, we want that to be 0.25. All right, rotation is gonna be 0. We're fine with that. I'm gonna specify a point on screen. Okay, and now the tag, I'm gonna say, we'll call this box is the tab, box name. All right. And then we'll say name of box. This is just the prompt the user will see when they type it in down here. See how it says verify attribute down here? Then it says instrument tag. That was the prompt. Okay. Default, we'll say box. All right. And I'll pick OK. Nothing's preset. It's locked position. It's going to prompt me for it. Pick OK. And I'm going to place that in the M2P between mid of here. Oops. Mid of here and mid of here. All right, so that's there. Now, if I block this, right now it's not a block. I haven't done anything. It's just an attribute definition. Click on that. So I want to block this. Type in the block command. Okay, I'm going to type in my box. My box. That's horrible. My box. All right, I'm going to pick my objects. I want this and this. Remember, the prompts for the attributes come in the method in the order you pick them. Okay, so since there's only one, that's the only one I've got. So this is going to be the first one I see. All right, I'm going to pick my base point. I need to pick my base point. I want that to be right on the middle of this. Okay, so I can say M2P of mid of here and mid of here. Now I could have just used the insertion point of the text, but I just wanted to show you. I want you to understand that M2P command is a really highly beneficial OSTAP. All right, now I'm done, and I pick OK. And that is a block. And now it's going ahead and erasing those entities, and it's going ahead and converting it to a block. Now it's prompting me with the attributes what I want to call this. And I'll say box, we'll call it 1. All right, that's the box name of this one, 1. All right. So now I can copy this. and I can change these. I can double click on this, and I can change this to 2. And I can change this to 3. I can change this to 4. What's nice about the attributes is you can actually modify the properties of just this attribute in here. You click on here, you set text options. Say it was getting too close to the edge and I want it to be a little tighter. I can say 0.8, and that will tighten that up a little bit and make that all good for me. All right, I can't, since I locked the position, I can't move the attribute, but I can actually grab this at the insertion point of the block, which is the grip that shows up there, and then I can move that around. That help a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create another block. All right. I'm going to go ahead and explode this one. All right. And I'm going to move this down over here. This is a new one. I'm going to make this one bigger because this is going to have more lines. And I'm just going to drag this down another 1 inch. All right. So I'm going to copy this down. And I'm going to copy it down 1 inch. All right. All right. So now we can call this, instead of it being box name, we'll call it top. Top. See? All right, top, we'll call it top label. Label. And we'll call this the default of top. All right. And I'm going to do this bottom. Bottom label. Oops. That's okay. I need to fix that too. I'll say bottom. All right. So now let's talk about when we create this block. I'm going to type in dash block. I'm going to do block, not block, dead block. And no, block. All right. Name of my block here is going to be all box. All right. I'm going to pick my point. I'm going to make it the same M2P between these two, M2P of mid of here and mid of here. I'm going to select my objects. So if I just do this, okay, and pick OK, it's going to go ahead and convert it to a block. And then it prompted me, and notice it prompted me with the bottom label first and then the top label. Would that be the order that I want that to happen?
No, that's it's because the window you selected it that way. Because
exactly, because this was the last entity I created. So this is last, and then this was the next behind it, because it goes backwards. Okay, so it starts from here and then goes backwards in the drawing. So if I want this to be fixed, okay, I can explode this, boom, all right, and create it correctly. Now there are tools to let you sit there and sort the order, but we won't get into that right now. I just want you to understand how to create your blocks and know how to do this properly in the beginning. So I'm going to type in block, and I'm going to actually pick the same block name because actually we'll call it tall box 2. All right, and I'm going to select my objects. Boom. I'm going to pick this, and then I'm going to pick this, and then this. Now that's the order it's going to prompt me in. The entities that are not attributes, it doesn't really matter what order you select those in. So if you select your attributes first, then you select everything else, you're good to go. Okay, I pick enter there, and now I'm going to pick my point. I'm going to say M2P of. Now I'm going to mix this up this time. I'm going to go mid this way, this, and mid of this. Okay, because you can do it either way, because up and down or right and left, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good. I've selected my objects. I've picked my point. I've given it a name. And so this part here, a lot of people screw up on this and just accept the default of 0, 0, 0. That is bad. So make sure you understand how you're doing this. Okay, pick OK. It's going to convert that to a block. And look at that. Top is there and bottom is there. And we're good to go. All right, so that's how you kind of do that order. You control that order when you're selecting your attributes. Okay.
All right.
So now what happens?
Thank you.
Oh. Okay. Now, since we've created this on 0, if I move this to a different layer, everything takes on the same colors of that layer. So I move that to a different layer. I put that on the instrument layer. If I put it on the med text layer or med instrument layer, it takes on those property colors. That's a benefit of using layer 0 and your colors and stuff like that set to by layer. All right. Well, I think that kind of goes over that. And so you should be good to go now, right?
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, you need anything else, buddy?
No, I should be sending you by the end of, before I go to bed tonight, my my block and hopefully the rest of the assignment tonight. That's my goal.
Okay.
I set
That
aside
sounds
a
good.
pretty big chunk of time for Saturday to get that done.
Yeah. All right, boy. Well, I love you. And I think Cody
Love you
probably
too.
should be downstairs, so I probably need to go make sure he's all right.
All
All
right.
right, boy. All right. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.